Hey guys, my name is Shayda Campbell and today I'm going to show you how to create this illustrated watercolor floral using some of my favorite Sakura supplies. So today I am using the Sakura Koi watercolors, and this is a set of 48 pans. It comes in many different sizes, and this is also a pocket field set, which means that it's great for painting on the go, some plein air painting. The palette is contained within the set and it comes with a water brush, which means the water will be with you right in your brush. But since I'm working in the studio today, I am going to use 2 glasses of clean water and my own brush. That's just what I'm comfortable with. And then I've got some nice watercolor paper. This is 140-pound hot pressed paper. It's important to use proper thick toothy paper because it needs to be able to absorb all the water you're going to put on it. And then I am using a number 8 round brush, synthetic bristles. Any similar brush will do though. Now I'm going to start by mixing up the colors that I want to work with. Since I'm doing florals today, I'm going to mix up some pinks and greens, and I'm just mixing lots and lots of water into these paints. So you can see I pick up a little bit of the paint from the pan or the pigment, and then I mix in a lot of water. So I just keep putting more and more water onto my brush and mixing it in with the paints on the palette, and I'll get my whole color palette sorted here before I begin. And then when I'm ready to begin, I'm going to start by painting a single flower. And this flower is made up of 4 petals, and I just paint 1 petal at a time. And they are just these wonky, perfectly imperfect shapes. Each petal could be a heart shape or a triangle, or mine are sort of fan shaped. And you can add a little extra pigment and paint to the center and watch what happens there. But keep it very loose. You don't need to paint things perfectly here because we are going to add those sketchy black lines at the end. And I'm doing another 4 petal flower, sort of overlapping the first one, and this is just in a lighter pink, doing that same play and experiment by adding extra pigment. I'm also going to do a big circular flower. This will eventually be a rose, but it's just very loose. It's basically just a big blob at this point, or a big spiral. So very, very loose, very wabi-sabi. And if your flowers are literally just circular blobs, that is totally fine. All we want to do is get some color on the page. And you can keep mixing your colors on the palette. You might choose to add in a little more purple if you're working with pinks, or change the colors slightly. I'm going to keep moving along here and add these little heart-shaped flowers. They come together with just a few strokes of the brush. And then when I'm done there, I'm going to start adding some leaves. I love to paint leaves. Painting a leaf is really all about the brush work. It's very free. You just want to drag the brush across the page and see what sort of shape that makes. So you can use the belly of the brush and drag it across the page, and then use the tip of the brush to maybe add a little more color or add a little stem. And you can overlap these leaves. You can add a little more pigment so that some are darker and some are lighter. They could be little ovals, they could be big ovals, they could be circular. Just experiment and play. When we're done with the leaves, I'm mixing up a little bit of pink. I felt that my piece was sort of lacking a color, so I wanted to add one more color, and I'm just adding another flower and some little berries. And it's very, very simple, but that is the floral piece. I am going to leave it to dry, and I'll pack up my paints, clean everything up, and then when that piece is completely dry, we're going to add those sketchy black lines. So for that portion, I'm going to use my Pigma Microns from Sakura. They come in a set with all the different nib sizes. Now my Goldilocks nib is the 03, and that's what I'm using here to do a whimsical illustration on top of the watercolor. The really nice thing is that I could use the pen first and then do the watercolor on top, and the Pigma Microns will not bleed. And speaking of that, the mighty microns actually never bleed. You can see as I create these heart-shaped petals, the lines are sharp and clear. Next, I'll do some dotting in the center to represent the stamen in the middle of the flower. And then I'm gonna start illustrating some of the leaves. And when you're doing this, you don't need to use the color on the page as an exact guide for where you're doing your sketch. You can sketch onto the negative space, and some of the leaves can be jagged and some might be smooth. They could be round or oval. Have fun, switch it up a little bit. You can do some dots to give them a little bit of texture. And yeah, I'm just gonna go around and continue to illustrate all the flowers. And if you did just do these big blobs and splashes of watercolor, now is the point where you can add that detail. And this is a nice practice if you're new to watercolor. When you do that illustrative, sketchy black line, you get back some of the control that you tend to lose when you're experimenting with a new medium. To finish my piece, I used the brush pen in the Pigma Micron set to add a little bit of hand lettering. These illustrative watercolor pieces are perfect for doing greeting cards, for making a little inspirational message to hang on the wall, whatever you like. Well, thank you guys so much for watching today. Don't forget to comment below and let me know what kind of art you like to create with your koi watercolors.